Welcome again to ITU Telecom World here in Geneva in Switzerland. And this time I'm talking with an old friend, Jay Naidoo, who used to be the Minister of Comms for South Africa and is now the Director General of a new development he's involved in called GAIN, the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. Jay, great to see you again. First question, which I'm asking more or less everybody who comes through here, is this. We've seen about at least a decade of non-stop boom in the ICT industry, and now things are changing. Some economies are in the tank and others are still sailing along fine. What do you think is the most pressing issue facing ICT now?
Well, my approach is that it's a cup that's half full. So if you look at a continent like Africa, I think there are tremendous opportunities because ICT, unlike any other sector, gives you a return on your capital. And so it's almost immediate. So unlike the old telecoms industry required a long and patient capital, mobile technology and broadband access via mobile is almost instantaneous in giving you returns. So I think there are tremendous opportunities for companies and governments that really have the political will and the courage to do the right thing. Because this, in a sense, is the basic need of all basic needs. Because it's the type of national infrastructure that really makes you more effective in education and delivering health, delivering government services, and making yourself economically and business-wise more competitive.
You and I have been to ITU shows many times before, and they used to be enormous. Remember back to 95 and 99, the amount of money that was spent here, the size of the show, the people, and all the rest of it. This is a very different affair, much more subdued, but perhaps more powerful in some ways. What's your take on it? What are your expectations from it? And secondly, is there a particular message you'd like to give to the people who will be watching this video or are here as delegates and visitors?
I think companies in the past have been like universes on their own, the mothership that feeds themselves. I think broadband has fundamentally transformed the telecom industry so that, in a sense, what you're building is, whether it's infrastructure, or whether it's devices, or whether it's software, the idea of these highways that you're building. And really it's giving opportunity to millions of other people to become economically active, to develop applications, to promote electronic commerce. I'm coming from Kibera, which is the largest informal settlement in Nairobi, more than 1 million people. Squashed into this area, living in tin shanties with virtually no public investment, but almost every corner has this M-Pesa money transfer system, which uses the latest technology. So this is about the real digital revolution, of where even the poorest person in the most informal settlement in a village can use the technology to make themselves and empower themselves economically. So I think that's the difference today. That in a sense, the ICT industry is creating millions of other opportunities for ordinary people to earn some income and become more efficient about their lives and the way they conduct themselves.
And the message to the delegates and visitors?
So I think a key message to the private sector is to see this emergence of a huge market that has fundamentally changed, for example, telecommunications. And essentially, the game changer was a prepaid card. And the innovation was driven by the large companies. And so investment in innovation, reducing the cost of giving broadband access, of developing devices that increase penetration and connectivity is the direction for profitability also of these companies in the private sector. In fact, those companies that do not adapt to the new way of doing business will become dinosaurs.
A more generic question now, Jay, if you wouldn't mind. How do you think ICT can help social as well as economic development around the globe?
The challenges that face the developed world are almost converging with the challenges that have historically faced us in the developing world, because the crisis of the financial crisis, the food security crisis, the convergence with the economic crisis, and increasingly the crisis of jobs has now made us share challenges in the world together. And I think that in a sense, ICT and particularly the building of the broadband networks again creates that opportunity for people to actually develop their own livelihoods. Increasingly, people are going to be employed in their homes, developing their own ways of raising incomes, and not in large companies. I think we are reaching a point where growth will plateau in the traditional way of companies employing people on the shop floor. And so we have to develop applications on the back of this broadband, whether it is delivering more effective education, more effective health, more effective government services, whether it's transfer of money, whether it's agriculture and connecting peasant farmers to markets and understanding the prices they can negotiate for their products. All of this creates economic activities, a very different way of doing business in the 21st century.
You're the chairman of the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. What role can ICT play in addressing the pressing problem of malnutrition in many parts of the world and the child mortality rate, which is appalling still in many countries?
Fundamental role. I think it's, in fact, a core competency we need to harness because, first of all, we've got to understand the data. In Kibera, which is this informal settlement I visited in Nairobi, the rate of stunting is 43%. Almost 1 in 2 children are stunted. Almost 1 in 15 children is wasted. So we have a tremendous challenge of just collecting the data and then using that data to develop appropriate policies, whether those are policies from government that provide basic services in terms of health, or whether those are donors that require the information in order to determine where the appropriate food should be going, or whether it's the platforms that allow mothers, pregnant mothers or newly lactating mothers to understand the importance of, for example, exclusive breastfeeding in the first 6 months. It's the healthiest product you can feed your newborn baby, and it has the worst advertising. And in that area, which is a trend across the many developing countries, only 6% of mothers actually breastfeed. So it's about a platform to convey information, to monitor the impact of certain programs, to be able to, in a sense, gather the information about where the appropriate products are available in the marketplace. And I think essentially it connects people to the health system and connects resources to where it's most desperately needed. So I think it's fundamental. If you look at the impact of broadband and access to mobile technology for promoting agriculture, in Africa, we know 80% of agriculture and food production is done by women. So if we can empower those women to understand how they can negotiate better prices for their products and increase their incomes, then we know it has a direct impact on the health of their children, on whether their children are in school and being educated or not.
Finally, can you name one thing you think that needs to happen if we're going to get closer to the mission of giving more global citizens more meaningful access to connected technology?
Political will. We have the science, the money is there, the applications are needed, the political will is lacking.
Naidoo, thank you very much.